Greetings. I'm going to talk about the topic of my previous video with focusing on Dan Harmon, one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty. So there was the video where he had, from like almost 10 years ago, that was supposedly a parody of Dexter, the TV show where a psychopath is killing murderers or something like that. I've never watched the show, so I don't really know much about it. But anyways, so Adult Swim, the company behind Rick and Morty, they defended Dan Harmon's video, or Dan Harmon, after this controversy arose. And I've seen some other people defend him like Mundane Matt, and at least I haven't seen overwhelming support for him, which is good, but still some people are defending him. And let's just have a short view of this video, because this is supposed to be a joke. I don't really see it as a joke. This is from the Black Pill channel. He's got some decent content out there. I took out the sound. And yeah, this is censored. As you can see, the original isn't. So yeah, I think we've seen enough. And also, Black Pill has another video of Dan Harmon basically calling for the murdering of Nazis. And because I haven't seen many Nazis, I don't think I've ever seen an actual Nazi anywhere, like in real life. Like, of course, there are some people on the internet who call themselves National Socialists, and I think they have the right. I'm not particularly for or against it, but anyways, according to the media and the modern left, pretty much anybody, at least according to my understanding, pretty much everybody who isn't 100% behind transsexuals, homosexuals, immigrants, or even pedophiles, it seems, is a Nazi. So basically, somebody who isn't completely paused is a Nazi, according to these people. These people call even Sargon of Akkad a Nazi. And at least, they call him alt-right, and alt-right is called Nazi, so he's a Nazi, if you watched my channel at all, you know that I'm no fan of Sargon, but he's certainly not a Nazi. Certainly a Nazi would be an improvement for him. And they call Donald Trump a Nazi, the man who has, married off his children to Jews and is friends with Benjamin Netanyahu and all of that, so he's a very Jew-friendly Nazi. So clearly their understanding of what the word Nazi means is completely out of whack. But okay, let's see this in context, because some argue that this is a joke, and come on, lighten up, let people have their, filthy humor or whatever. Fine. Well, first of all, I don't think that this is a joke. I think it's more like some perverse fantasy of his or something. Just look at the video if you think this is just a bit rowdy joke or something. Because I don't think so. And some people have on the internet said, oh, it's not a problem that the doll is not a victim. There is no victim in this crime. So, okay, would you be fine if Dan Harmon or anybody else watched pictures of children on the internet and masturbated, or maybe watched children out of his window and did the same stuff? There's no victim here. The children don't even know what's happening. He's not touching them. That's a victimless crime. I'm no lawyer, but I think that would be illegal, and certainly it should be if it's not. So anyway, let's see this in context. Just let's assume that this is just a joke. Nothing to worry about. Okay, then, so you can make jokes about raping children, but you cannot make jokes about, this is not even about raping women. This is just the, infamous dongle incident. Some two programmers were joking about big dongles, and then some woman heard it and she was offended, and then they were fired, basically. That's my understanding. There's like many different phases and steps here, but that's basically. So two men are talking to each other and it doesn't involve that woman at all, but since she was offended, they're fired. But no, Dan Harmon doesn't have to get fired for this. Or like this thing. It's the story of some woman, probably American. She was in Spain, in Barcelona, looking for some certain district or whatever. And she met two guys and asked them for directions. And they said, they gave her the directions. And after she walked away 20 meters, okay, she said 20 meters, so maybe she's not American, maybe she's British or whatever, I don't care. So then the guy said, "We really fooled her." "Yeah," said the other. "Little does she know we just sent her down rape alley." So eventually she contacted the company they work for, and apparently they were fired. So they made a rape joke about raping an adult woman and they got fired. So this is bad. Okay, fine. In some sense I could understand this, but then this is not fine to make rape jokes about adult women, but making rape jokes about babies is fine. All right? And these are just a couple of examples. There are many instances in recent years that somebody makes a sexist or a rape joke or something, and they either get fired or they just get in trouble. Or like this, some British conductor was supposed to be in some Oregon Bach festival, some music festival, and he was talking to his African American friend, and he was like mocking his Southern American accent, and some woman once again heard it, and then she complained, and this guy Matthew Halls, a British guy, he was fired from this duty. Like even the black guy, he even said that he wasn't offended and they were friends and they make fun of each other's accents. At least according to this article, I don't even see anything that he was making any race-based joke. Like even if he was, I would be fine by it. But it was to do with his culture. Pretty sure if this guy had been a white Southern American, the woman wouldn't really have cared. Like, oh, you can joke about the white Southerners as much as you want, but not about black people. No, because they're so weak or something, and the white women have to protect them or whatever. So you cannot make racist jokes. Or like this guy, Kean Lawley, he was a young actor in a Black Lives Matter movie, and he was fired for making a racist video. So in a video, he had been laughing and calling himself black, using the N-word and talking about drinking purple Kool-Aid and eating fried chicken. And it took a movement to get him fired. So making racist jokes about black people is bad. It will get you fired. But making jokes about raping babies is okay. It won't get you fired. And of course, this recent thing with Roseanne, her TV show was cancelled because she called some black woman Valerie Jarrett. She's like as if the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. So her show was cancelled and she was fired. And here's a picture of Valerie Jarrett. I can understand the Planet of the Apes reference. I don't really know what the Muslim Brotherhood stuff is about, but whatever. So once again, this is bad, but this is not bad. We shouldn't forget about Donald Trump's grab him by the pussy. He wasn't even talking about that he is gonna grab somebody by the pussy, but it created a lot of controversy, and he was so evil and sexist and stuff. That was so bad, just to make the comment that he said that if you're, I think it was something like, if you're rich and famous, you can grab women by the pussy and they allow you to do it. So that was bad according to the media, but this raping a baby video is fine apparently. Again, another thing that really comes to mind in many of these cases, like this, men are doing something, especially the Dangle stuff and the British conductors incident. Two men are just having fun and a woman happens to hear it and she complains and they get fired. Like I think in the old days in Europe, women weren't allowed to speak in the church, weren't allowed to participate in society, and I'm starting to understand why. Of course, not all women, just several of them apparently. But okay, so my 2 cents on this thing is, if you want to penalize them for making some kinds of insensitive jokes, you shouldn't allow people to make any kinds of insensitive jokes. Why are racist and sexist jokes bad, but pedophilia jokes are not? And, this isn't just Dan Harmon's single video. Like I showed in my previous video, there were many of these Hollywood people making many pedophilic jokes or cannibalistic jokes and all of that stuff. This is clearly very hypocritical, and not only that, I think that pedophilia, raping children, is much worse than, it's worse than raping adult women, even though that's of course bad, but simply, the dongle joke wasn't rape, it was just rowdy, a sexual joke. And of course, racial jokes, I'm very much for them. I think they're fun, and if people were allowed to make more racist jokes, it would actually bring people closer together if people weren't so thin-skinned about it. So anyway, but if you want to live in a society where you cannot insult people, then you should be consistent. Like all kinds of these insensitive jokes should be banned. And of course, I don't know if there's any case, maybe there is 1 or 2, but mostly you don't hear about them, is that, if somebody makes a racist jokes about white people, it's fine. Nobody in the media or in the left complains. They just, probably praise it. But if you make a racist joke about black people or some other non-white, about, persons of color, then that's bad. This is a double standard, of course. And, it's not ultimately this whole thing about these people getting penalized and fired and all of that for, their offensive jokes. It's not simply about, people being overly sensitive. It's about an Orwellian way of attacking Western society or white people. And not only that, but promoting evil, such as pedophilia, because there's a clear agenda at play here that, these fairly normal things that people have probably been doing since the dawn of time, making fun, rowdy jokes or race-based jokes or culture-based jokes. I think, it's just normal human behavior, but, okay, you can say that pedophilia has existed as long, but I think in any functional society, it has been shunned very strongly, and those people who engage in pedophilic activity, they are taken care of. Or if there's somebody seems like they might be a pedophile, such as Dan Harmon, I don't know if he's really a pedophile, but he certainly has some signs that he might be, that at least the police should investigate to see, if there's more to it than this video. Or Rick and Morty apparently has some pedophilic jokes as well, like the pilot, not the first episode of the show, but amateur video, like the very first Rick and Morty story, which is in part of the stuff they showed on TV. Like Morty gives Rick a blowjob, licks his balls or something, and I think he's a minor, and maybe Rick is his father. I'm not sure, maybe I'm wrong, I haven't watched Rick and Morty, and that's apparently fine according to Adult Swim. We don't have much time for sophistry and arguing the finer points of, this is freedom of speech to fuck children, because to anybody who's paid attention, that there is a network of pedophiles in the world, especially Hollywood, and these people exhibit symptoms of that. So we should be alarmed and we should expose it. If you're not doing something about it, if you're not speaking out, if you're not investigating, if you're not I don't know, trying to contact somebody, you are basically complicit in their crimes, because the information is out there on the internet. You can know that these things happen. Like, you cannot just hide your head in the sand. And okay, like, I should point out that many of these people who, defend all of these insane leftist practices, they are useful idiots, but not all of them. Some of the people who are pushing all of these progressive, oppressive agendas, they know exactly what they are doing.